Okay, hello all you crazy people out there. My name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games, and it's time to make some games. So I've got a game now. I can almost claim to have a game now. There's a tower defense, and there are towers, and there are foes, and they're kind of attacking each other. And that's great, but this doesn't really look like much as of this moment. And I initially planned in this video to do more gameplay things, except I really want to start looking at nicer things on the screen than this annoying orange and yellow checkerboard and some rook-shaped towers and all that. So I'm going to dedicate this video to making things look nice. So I've got a whole collection of 3D models. If you want to know where to find these things that I'm using, these are free. These are made by this Dutch guy named Kenny, and he's got a amazing amount of a vertex color, low poly 3D models that you can use for whatever. Almost all of them are free. He's got a couple paid collections. I don't know what one I'm using. I believe it's this one, the Nature Kit. If I were to zoom in on this a little bit, you can see it's got a bunch of trees. It's got a bunch of like fences and some other things, rocks, some campfire assets and that sort of thing. I will probably remember to leave a link to this in the video description. It's a very nice resource to have for 3D game dev. For low budget projects such as this one. So I've got let's alphabetize this list a little bit. I've got a 3D model viewer here. I made this on stream a couple weeks ago, or at least I made most of it on stream. Its main purpose is to take for example, OBJ files and turn them into either D3D files or just vertex buffers, both of which are faster to load in a game than an OBJ file, as I've described on video in the past. I'm just going to grab maybe a couple dozen of these, probably some trees, whichever looks nice. I don't think modular bridge pieces are what I'm looking for right now. And let's turn the wireframe off. And I'm going to use a couple of these in the game. So, cactus. I could make it a cactus. Canoe paddle. Modular cliffs. Not quite what I'm looking for. Maybe in some levels in the future I could put something together made of that. I invite you to look through these on your own and see what you want to use in your own level design. Those are all cliffs. Food crops, so melons, carrots, pumpkins, turnips. If you want to go with the food imagery, that would be a good one to have. I am actually going to, well, I shouldn't say I'm going to do it now. Before I started this video, just to save a little bit of time, I did go and save these all as GameMaker models and as vertex buffers. First, I'm going to use them as GameMaker models. I'm going to import them as that. Should be decently fast. I've already written code that will do that. And later on, once I move closer to the final stages of game development, I will replace them with vertex buffers, which should be faster. I like the look of the crops. I'll put a couple of those in. I'll put a couple of pumpkins and melons and whatever around. Okay, those are all vertex colors. I haven't implemented lighting in this game yet. There is lighting appearing on these things so that they look less flat. But later on, in a couple of videos, I will do more with lighting. Corn. That's a fairly tall plant. The blue thing is the simply the z-axis. That's not part of the model. A couple fence pieces. I could make like a farm level. That could be the starting level. It could be like a farm level or something. There's a bunch of flowers. The ones that I was looking for, I was initially going to make like a forest or something. There are a bunch of trees. You know what? Let's stop messing around with that. If you want that model conversion tool, model preview tool, hopefully it will be done by the time this video goes up. And I will leave a note to my future self to put a link to that in the video description as well. Let me just open this project file and copy some of these into the data files. I'm gonna make a new folder called environment. And that's going to be the level design objects. And Windows Explorer just crashed on me, or froze on me anyway. You okay there, Windows? Is the recording okay? The recording seems to be okay. Windows Explorer did indeed crash on me though. Let me go back to that. Man, all of a sudden Windows Explorer is just not having it. Anyway, what did I say? Melons and pumpkins are kind of cool. I can, instead of dragging those in there because that would actually move the files, I will simply copy them into there. Flowers. I'll deal with fences later because if those aren't oriented the correct way, that might look a little weird. Fence, flower. I know my alphabet. Let's have a red one and a yellow one. And the trees. Oh, you know what? Rocks also. I'll just select a couple of random rocks and copy them in there. I think the stones are the smaller ones, but I'm not sure. What do the stones look like? Alright, so those are stones. And rocks are... Oh, rocks are like, they have grass growing on the top. Okay, as in like cliff parts. Let's take a couple trees. Not palm trees, at least not right now. Deciduous and pine should be good. What is tree plateau? Is that like a desert tree or something? Tree plateau. Oh, those are, that's more referring to the shape of the tree than anything else. Okay. Anyway, this should be good enough. The 000 is there as an artifact of the export tool. I can probably close the included files list, right? Let me go back to game. I will initialize a couple vertex buffers. You know what? This is very tedious, and I don't want to have to do this for every single object. So find file, or file find still exists. So we can do this. We can instead do this in a loop, opening every single file in this folder. The mask is going to be, that would be environment slash star dot d3d, wouldn't it? And the attributes would be fa none, I think, or is it -1 or 0? I believe that's also a mask. Use 0. Okay, so that's a mask. You could OR them together if you want. And this is going to return. Hang on, I should not have closed that documentation page. This is going to return a file name, right? Yeah, it's going to return the file name. I can do this in a loop. This is going to be one of those sucky looking for loops. If I get to the end, if no such file exists, an empty string will be returned. And if file find next, will it be the same thing? An empty string. File is the first, file not equal an empty string, file equals file find next. Shut up, phone. And I'm going to have a DS map, which all of these are stored in. And for each file in the folder, one, put it in the DS map based on its name, using its name. Can I use compound extensions? Can I do that to remove the file extension? In any case, it's going to be load model. The file name and the vertex format. Just to make sure this is doing what I want, let me print that out and make sure it's changing the name properly. File name change extension expected 2 arguments got 3. Really? Oh, it doesn't change it from something to something, it changes it to that. Alright, you know what I can also do? I suspect this is not actually going to work. I can use the good old string replace function, which is most likely what file name change extension is doing internally. Let's just, again, print that out just to make sure that it's giving me what I want, which would be something along the lines of, not that, yes that, like tree default fall, and that's it. There's an error. File is not open for reading. Does the file exist? I'm guessing it's not returning the value that I think it will. Okay, so it's only returning the file name, not the entire path. I suppose that makes sense. We can append the folder to it before we load it. That is completely fine. Okay, so it has loaded. Everything is the same as it was before. I am going to handle this differently in the future, as I've said about many things. But first, let's just create an entity which does nothing but sit there and look pretty. I'll call it entity env because I don't feel like spelling that out every time I call that. X, Y, Z. And it's going to take a vertex buffer. Mark it as constructor. Self.vbuff equals vbuff. Right now, it's not going to do anything by means of update. Maybe there could be like entities that animate kind of nicely in the future. If that was the case, I will subclass this into something else. But right now, let's just do that. It's very simple. We will be drawing your own vertex buffer. All right, first, let's do this randomly. Let's not hand place these. Let's do for example, 50 of these. So we're going to create an environment entity, and it's going to be at a random position in the room. So let's say random room width, random room height, and a vertical value of 0. And the vertex buffer index is going to be, what would be the best way to pull something out of the, to pull a random element out of the environment objects map? Okay, this is really dumb, but this is going to do what I want. Let's see. Going to dsmap find first. And then, since objects are stored in DS maps in a random order, or a pseudo-random order anyway, I'm going to make use of that and use that as a randomizer kind of built in. Let's see. I'm going to call that key instead of vbuff, because it's that's actually what it is. The vertex buffer is what you get when you look up the key in the map. And then key equals ds map find next. We're going to just jump ahead a random number of positions in the ds map. I guess I really don't even have to do that, since there is no rhyme or reason here. Okay, so let's we can make that even simpler. If key equals undefined, then we will simply go back to the beginning. And it's going to loop through a couple times because we are spawning 50 things, and there are only, I want to say, about 20 vertex buffers in the folder. Okay. nothing happened. And the reason that nothing happened is because that's actually not being added to the entity list. I've messed that up several times now. Nothing continues to happen. In the beginning, nothing happened, and then for several moments, nothing continued to happen. They're being drawn, right? Yeah, they're being drawn. If I were to print out the position, and the vertex buffer for that matter, they're definitely being drawn. Or they think they're being drawn anyway. They're valid models, right? They could always be trying to draw like an empty vertex buffer or something of that nature. Hey. I would think if like what does this look like inside? Model Creator can read it, and if Model Creator can read it, I should be able to read it. Yeah, that looks like a valid vertex buffer. If I were to save over it, would that change anything? Would there be a random rock of type something in there? Interesting. So they're not valid vertex buffers, which means there's something wrong with my model loading code. Or at least they're formatted in a specific way. 100 is the version ID. And then 152 is the number of things. Alright, I see what's going on. It's the 04 at the beginning that's messing it up, and things are ending up like in the wrong place. At least I believe. Model Creator would have that formatted so that there are a string of 9 more zeros after that. I will say... Hey. It is 0, 1, and then at the end there's usually a 1, 0, right? Or 0, 4 rather, because that's the primitive type. There's just a 1 at the end. Okay. So we can manually accommodate for that. Line index 0 equals... This is an even simpler way than like taking the string and splitting the string. If line index 0 equals 1, continue. Line index 1 equals the next token if line index 0 is 0 and line index 1 is 4. Continue. Otherwise, it's an actual vertex. 0, 4 is begin triangle strip, and 1 is end primitive type. That should work. Okay, that's hilarious looking, especially on top of the orange and yellow checker ground. First thing that I'm going to do is uncheck all those and load model. I'm gonna commit the fix like that, and after that we will say placed a bunch of random things, environmental objects. All right, that's 2 commits. I can close that. Next, because it's probably not actually good to have everything scattered randomly around the level, let's try to only spawn these around the borders. And let's see, to do this, there's a couple of ways you can do it. This is going to be a 50-50 chance. Choose will return a random input from its parameter list, a random parameter from its parameter list. So that could be either false or true. It does it randomly, or pseudo-randomly anyway. If the seed is the same, it will obviously choose the same thing in the same sequence. So 50% of the time it's going to choose true, 50% of the time it's going to choose false. I'm going to... Let's see. We can spawn them either horizontally or vertically across the top of the room. Okay, so we're gonna spawn them randomly horizontally in one case. The X position is going to be a random position between 0 and the width of the room, and the Y position is going to be either 0 or the height of the room plus a random amount, and the alternative is to spawn them randomly vertically, and we're going to do something similar, but on the opposite axes. If you just call random or integer random, irandom, it will generate a random number between 0 and the specified value. If you want a range of some value and another value, you need to use the random range functions. Okay. So we'll spawn it at x, x, y, y, 0, and that should cluster them around the sides a little bit more. All right, much better. So there's no longer a bunch of mess in the middle of the room. We can still see. Am I like suddenly not allowed to actually start playing? Where did the towers go? It says I have 2 money. Nothing else is being drawn though. All right, one, let us. Did I accidentally remove the render code from something? Let's get rid of those printouts because I don't need those. Where did everything go? Is everything else invisible now? Like, when I fix the, Oh, you know, now I have the opposite problem. Okay, fine. I'm going to rewrite load model so that it takes a, so that it takes the input line and splits it instead of doing the dumb read real trick. Hang on. Okay. Everything's loading regardless of precisely how the game maker model is formatted. I can spawn towers. I can spawn 5 of them because that's how much money I have. Those guys will spawn in, and they'll travel along the track. That's pretty okay. There's a little bit of decoration. I kind of want to do a non-linear Gaussian distribution so that there's some chance for things to spawn closer in towards the middle, but not like a great deal of chance, but perhaps not today. I'm going to hand design these levels anyway. If you're curious, this is what the string split code looks like. It is a very basic string split code. It does not support escape sequences such as backslashes or anything like that, because that's not something that's needed when you're simply parsing a game maker model file. Okay. Again, I should commit that in pieces. Perfect. And, all right. To fill it in a little bit more, let's, instead of spawning 50 things, spawn 100. And let's make the random radius, instead of -32 and +23 apparently, because I guess I typed those numbers in reverse. Let's make it 64, 64. So that there's a little bit more space. Yeah, so there's more stuff around the sides. This is the basis of how things in maps are going to be drawn later on. So they're going to emerge out of the trees I'm using. I definitely need to actually draw the track, among other things, so that you can see where things are going to be moving. That has gameplay consequences as opposed to simply aesthetic ones. I also, what else? I want to actually do something with the ground. I haven't decided what that'll be. It might just be a tile map or something. Or it might be I might actually put some objects on the ground to indicate where things are going to be moving. that's still up in the air. I still need to do lighting, obviously. There needs to be stuff off in the distance so that the world isn't just a void when you leave the playing area. The room size doesn't really matter, since I'm not really using rooms. It's just kind of there as a guide so that I know how much space there is to play with. What else? Skyboxes. I like skyboxes. I want to do skyboxes. I'm trying to use WASD as if I'm moving around in the game, and the game isn't even up. Let's see. I can commit this to spawn random things in random places. One more thing I want to do. I don't know if I want to do that. I was going to say tilting the camera up and down. I don't know if I actually feel like doing that. I'd need to have a modifier key, like if you hold the like the control key or something like that, or shift or something, you can look around with the mouse. I don't know if I want to do that. What else have I written down? Alright, I got through everything I planned on doing in this video, or in the future video that turned into this video, I should say. So I'm going to end this off. I'm going to end it with the game open because it looks kind of nice, I think. So, my name is Michael. I like wizards and dragons and making games. I try to do 2 of these videos a week. One of these, it actually looks like something now, which is very nice, and one tutorial in which I often cover the things that I'm doing right now in order to make a game. And, let's see what else. I have a Patreon for these things, so if you want to contribute towards them being made, there's a link to that in the video description and stuff as well. Otherwise, the code is all on GitHub. You've seen me committing changes all video, so that those can be reflected up in the GitHub repository. You can go look at that. You can go look at that if you want to. Otherwise, yeah, that's it. I hope you found that interesting, and I will see you all later. Special thanks to Edward Hull, Indie Punch, and Zenith for supporting these videos. If you want your name in the credits and to force me to pronounce them out loud at the end of every video, head over to the Patreon page in the video description and join the fun.